Hello again. It is Crew Call here on the Motor Racing Network, taking you into the garage and talking to the folks that make the race cars go around the racetrack. We are so glad that you have joined us. I'm Steve Post, pit road reporter for Motor Racing Network, joined as I am each and every week by 25-time and championship-winning crew chief Todd Gordon. Hello, Todd. How are you?
I'm good. I'm off Martinsville weekend, heading to Darlington. I mean, this is a good time of year.
Love this time. I love the proximity. Selfishly, we like the proximity to here in the Charlotte, North Carolina area, no doubt about it. But I just love the racetracks, too. I mean, Martinsville, Darlington, it just doesn't get any better than this.
They're unique in themselves.
Yes.
You know, Martinsville is the epitome of short track racing. It's full contact. You expect it. That's the way it's supposed to be.
Yep.
Half mile, no banking. You know,
right.
Bank. It's got 12 degrees, but it doesn't have 30 like Bristol does. And, you know, it's quite an event. And Darlington, likewise, very unique. Place that you race on what was built as the safety apron, and you just try to make it work around it. So, two really cool events.
When we look at Martinsville, we had really neat visits throughout the course of the weekend with Denny Hamlin and Christopher Bell. And they spent a lot of time talking about their frustration with recent performance in Darlington. I would say if you're Chris Gale, I would say if you're Adam Stevens, I would say if you're Chris Gabehart and everybody at Joe Gibbs Racing, you're probably feeling a whole lot better about Martinsville on Monday morning than you were Friday morning.
I think you just verified your path of what you built in the offseason. They talked about that. Denny talked about it, that he felt like they could run third to fifth.
Yeah.
But they couldn't dominate. So they kind of did a reset, kind of went back and looked at it, felt like their short track program needed work, and they've worked on it in the offseason. So they got themselves to a really good spot. Really, as a whole, Joe Gibbs Racing, as a whole, Toyota, really.
Yep,
and really, I say that 2311 and Joe Gibbs Racing both ran really well. Bubba Wallace ticked off at finishing third.
Yes.
Yeah, that's a great place to be.
That is a great spot.
And got beat by two JGR cars. So I think the Toyota camp and that JGR affiliate, keep in mind that 2311 has a technical alliance with Joe Gibbs Racing. So if there is a pack that they're working on, that's amongst 6 teams at this point.
Right.
So, and all 6 of them ran well.
Yep, absolutely. Denny and Chris Gale with the win. Adam Stevens, Christopher Bell with the second place run. Chase Briscoe, 9th place run with James Small. And Tyler Allen and Ty Gibbs, their best finish of the year with 13th.
And I actually thought it was a better race for Ty Gibbs than we've seen all year long. I really thought he put this together. You looked at it, they ran in the top 10 most of the day.
They did.
Second to last caution, Tyler Reddick gets into him and spins him off a turn 2. And that's had a cool suit issue. I believe his cool suit wasn't working. Makes it very uncomfortable. High stress place like Martinsville, a lot of contact, and I got spun when I've run out good, and I've had a rough year. That's a great recipe for a meltdown. You didn't see it. What you saw is Ty Gibbs come down pit road, put 4 tires on it, and drove his way back to 13th from the back. I was just thoroughly impressed with the composure and maturity that Ty Gibbs showed in this race. He and Tyler Allen put a good race car together. They did, and they did a good thing. But I was really impressed that Ty Gibbs didn't let the challenges of the day compound.
So much this year has been talked about Joey Logano. More stage points, more laps led, yada, 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 and yet not a top 10 finish to show for it.
Well, you can't say that anymore.
They can't say that anymore. What a good program they put together, even though they got spun around there at the end.
He was the last caution.
Yes.
He was the last caution.
Yep.
When it looked like Chase Briscoe jumped a curb, trying to, he's racing with Ross Chastain, but I don't blame Ross on that one. I think Chase tried to get a little lower, and he bumped a curb and jumped the curb, and Joey was there. Joey was there. Spun, put 4 tires on it, had probably a 30-lap, tire advantage at that point because they came so late. But I mean, a really kind of Joey Logano effort. Drove his way through the field from, there was 32 cars in the lead lap or something like that when he came down pit road. So to drive from there to 8th under green, one green flag stint, pretty impressive run for the 22 car.
Pretty sporty, that is for sure. A couple other attaboys. Not much good can be said about Saturday's Xfinity Series race, but Chad Haney and Austin Hill got the win. So we'll give them an attaboy, and that might be the only attaboy for that afternoon of racing. It was rough and tumble.
There's definitely going to be an interesting dynamic in the next drivers meeting.
Yes, absolutely.
For the Xfinity Series. Hey, how about How about the 19?
Daniel Hemrick.
The 19 truck has won the last 3 Martinsville races.
Right, with Christian Eckes driving last year, with Charles DeNike.
Yep.
Okay, Daniel Hemrick won Josh Graham career first win on one of the Big 3 series. So
and that was Daniel Hemrick's first truck series win.
Right, he has one Xfinity win, now a truck series win. That was a great story. Great story. Daniel's one of my summer shootout kids, one of my early summer shootout kids, and I love that. I love seeing the backflip like we used to see out at Charlotte on the quarter mile.
Yep,
fun stuff.
Hate it for Corey Heim again.
Yep, boy,
fastest truck, but I mean a racing incident. He and Caden Honeycutt kind of banging doors against each other. I think Caden's exhaust got to the left rear and cut a left rear down. Mm-hmm. That's just a racing deal. But again, it just proves that it's not the fastest race vehicle race. It's the checkered flag. First the checkered flag race. And Daniel Hemrick ran solidly around 3rd, 4th, 5th most of the day.
Yep.
Put himself in position. And I thought a great run against Tyler Ankrum.
Really put a strong performance down the stretch.
Good racing to make the pass and get clear of him.
Yep. Yeah. Great stuff, that's for sure. Daniel and, of course, his wife, Kenzie, just wonderful, wonderful people. Good to see them in victory lane.
We've talked about all these winners.
That's right.
Let's interview one that was a winner from last year.
That's right, exactly. The winner at Darlington last year was Chase Briscoe. His crew chief, Richard Boswell, up at Richard Childress Racing, now working for Austin Dillon. And we'll head to Welcome, North Carolina, and talk to Richard next.
The NASCAR channel is available now on Tubi. Tell them we got it. 24/7 news, documentaries, with access to the exclusive NASCAR Vault. The NASCAR channel, always on, always free, only on Tubi.
Welcome back. It is Crew Call here on the Motor Racing Network. And as we said, let's go up to Welcome, North Carolina. Joining us is crew chief for Austin Dillon on that number 3 car. Richard Boswell joins us. Hello, Richard. How are you?
Doing good, guys. How are you guys?
We are doing well. Your new project in Welcome, working for Austin Dillon, 7 races in, just kind of assess what you're learning, where you're at, and how things are going.
Yeah, we're learning a lot about each other. We're learning a lot about the cars and how they ended the 24 season. And, you know, obviously coming from a different organization, myself and Johnny Klossmeyer from Stewart Haas Racing, along with several others. Just trying to assess the equipment, the resources, pull from, the knowledge base that maybe we had at SHR and the Ford camp and really just put as much into these cars as we can. So, I'd say the first 3-4 months here has really been a lot of just assessing what we have to work with, where we feel like we can improve, the areas that we feel like are improved from what we're used to seeing, and really just try and incorporate all of that into what we're calling one welcome.
Yeah. So many pieces there that I can build into, but let's start with the 3-car. A new opportunity, a new challenge for you, and really they had a season that was struggled last year. How do you set expectations in where your 2025 goes? Where do you set the goals in that? Because you've got to learn each other, as you talked about, and just what the recovery path is.
Yeah, I think, for us, just looking at their past couple seasons, it's really as much about finishing races as it is anything. We can have fast cars and we can pass a ton of cars, but at the end of the day, I'll use COTA as an example. You can't finish 36th. You can't score 1 point on the day. You can't score 2 points on the day. So you can have great cars, but if you don't execute the day and you don't finish the day, it really doesn't add up to be a whole lot on paper at the end of it. So, for us, we're doing our best to finish every lap, finish every race, see where our strong suits. I would say now, right after these first 7-8 races, now is the time to start improving on those things. And that's kind of my goal is, where have we executed? Where have we not? What can we do moving forward to net a better result?
Yeah. I'll build on a separate thing then off of your first comments. You talked about you and Johnny Klossmeyer coming over from SHR. Seems like there's been kind of I hate to call it a cultural change, but it's it is a different environment than it was last year. And I think it's refreshing. How's that kind of settling in?
It's a culture change. It's exactly what it is. I think that when Richard brought us in, he felt like there were some things from a attitude standpoint in the shop and just some negativity that was kind of floating around that needed to be addressed. And I'm the type of person, I love to just love work, right? I love to be around the people that I work with. I cannot stand negativity. We're all negative at times, but negativity breeds negativity.
Yes, it does.
And this is a humbling sport. We were talking yesterday and about Martinsville and how we're going to improve next time. And, I give myself kind of that morning of Monday to figure out the things that I want to improve before we go back the next time. And by Monday afternoon, like I'm worried about Darlington. I want to move on because there were some good things that came out of Martinsville, some things that we need to build on, and there were some bad things, things that we need to fix. So I think that by saying that there's been a culture change is 100% accurate. We have just tried to preach to these guys that, hey, when there's an issue, come see us. Don't talk to your peers about it. Come see us. Let us fix it. We can't fix something that we don't know about. And it's been a breath of fresh air. We've got a great group up here. We've some familiar faces for me, which is always nice. Some new people that are just great employees that have been at RCR for decades. So you can always appreciate that loyalty. Love to see that. Richard is a super loyal individual that it's been a lot of fun.
Richard, you said familiar faces. Todd and I were talking before the show, so I'm going to steal one of his questions here. Randall Burnett, crew chief for Kyle Busch. What is your background with Randall? Todd was telling me it's pretty extensive with Randall, is it?
Yeah, so I've known Randall for years. He was finishing up college at UNC Charlotte when I was just kind of starting, and we raced late models with one another. We joke every now and then. There was a race at Martinsville where I might have beat his back bumper off of it, but I guess that just means he was a little bit faster than me and I couldn't get by him, so I was getting frustrated. But we're both very like-minded, grew up racing families. He's from the Midwest, obviously. I'm from Maryland. So a little bit different areas of where we grew up racing, but nonetheless, come from racing families. And I knew, like I said, I've known Randall prior to coming here. He's a big portion of why I came here, just because I wanted to work with someone like-minded, someone that I know I'm going to enjoy working with. Because as much as we're together, it really does have to be an enjoyable experience.
If he were really a little faster than you, you wouldn't be able to beat the rear bumper off of him. I just got to say.
Maybe I just couldn't pass him.
Old late model racer Emmy says if you can get to the bumper, that means you're going faster than he is. But
I guess I just couldn't complete.
Well, at least you didn't go all Xfinity series on him. That's for sure.
There you go. Let's leave that one alone right now. We'll let NASCAR solve that one out. But going to Darlington. You won there last year, and you didn't back your way into it. You guys ran like top three all night long and put yourself in position. And when the pay window opened up, you were at your best. How much of that do you carry into the 3-car setup coming this spring?
Yeah, a lot of it. It's interesting that the dynamic between the two different manufacturers that I've worked for the past 2 years is very, very different. So obviously there were a few tracks on our list that when we came in to the Chevy camp, I really was excited, right? Because there's so much more information at our fingertips from a key partner standpoint that we're able to see, that you really want to take those tracks that you felt like you were really good at last year and just see how close you are to those other guys. So interestingly enough, there were a lot of similarities to some of the better cars that were at Darlington and Bristol out of the Hendrick organization. But we're gonna stick to what we raced in the past there as close as we can. Like I said, it's truly not a lot different. But I do have history with it. We ran well there in the spring race last year. I think we finished third or fourth, somewhere right there in the top five.
Mm-hmm.
And obviously we're able to win the Southern 500 in the fall. So we're going to stick pretty close to that, feel good about that. Austin has confidence in that, and that's a big part of it as well.
Okay, so you brought up the Ford to Chevrolet piece. There's so much talked about common parts and common cars and how similar this Gen 7 car is. How different is it to you coming from a Ford team to a Chevrolet team? Is the aero balance different? Are there things you have to take into consideration, or does a lot of what you had there just directly apply?
Yeah, certainly some aero balance differences just through the different outer bodies of the cars. But the dynamic between the two organizations is polar opposite. It truly is. There was not a lot of collaboration between the Ford camp last year, which is, I'm not saying is wrong. It's just different. They've obviously been proven through Team Penske to be able to win championships at this level in the next gen car for the past 3 years. So it's obviously not wrong. We just weren't doing it as good as they were. So the Chevy camp is much different. A ton of collaboration amongst the key partners. We have a lot of information at our fingertips from other groups, which is always helpful, right? You show up at the track. You don't always show up as fast as you want to be. There's times where you show up in left field, right? And just the ability to kind of look and say, all right, here's a solid baseline, or here's a solid direction, definitely keeps me a bit more sane.
Yeah, I am sure. Richard, you have such a background in the sport. You're from Maryland, Southeast, your dad a racer. What does it mean to you? You have one career win in the Cup Series, obviously working on number 2. What does it mean to you, though, that one win is the Southern 500? I think if you're going to pick one, that's probably a pretty good one to pick so far.
Yeah, for sure, man. And Darlington has always been a special place for me. And Chase, right? Like we won the first race back there after COVID in the Xfinity Series in a very difficult time in Chase and Marissa's life after having a miscarriage with their first pregnancy. So that was a special win. Obviously, last year going into the Southern 500, it was our last opportunity to give the folks at SHR a shot at a championship and a shot at the playoffs prior to SHR closing down. So, we've had some really big wins there, personally for us and for our organization. So obviously the Southern 500 is the Southern 500. And, I don't think that there's not a race in this world that you could replace that one with, for me being my first Cup win as a crew chief. But yeah, we look forward to I look forward to hopefully many more and being able to add to my resume as well.
Yeah, we all do, right?
Yeah,
and having the opportunities, but you conquered the mountain. Now it's the rest of the hills beside it. As we look at Darlington, this is almost a two-phase question. It applies to Darlington, it applies back to Martinsville. Spring race 400, race 500. What's the difference in those two? One, Darlington, but I felt like Martinsville is a different race that way, but I want to start with Darlington.
Yeah, Martinsville's for sure a little bit different. And Darlington is too. There's definitely differences in stages and the way we will call the stages, whether or not we're going to try and, 2-stop it or 1-stop it in the stages. And, it's also one of those places where if a caution comes out right in your fuel window, it's right on the verge of not being able to split it. So there's definitely some different strategies. That's what I spend my Tuesdays doing. We've got our race engineering meeting here in just a little bit, and we'll kind of start talking about our weekend and how we want to start the weekend from a balance standpoint, how we want to call the race from a strategy standpoint. We've got engineers that work on those things for us to try and split the segments and tell us, hey, it's the fastest way to run this stage is by splitting it, or the fastest way to run this stage is by, running it in thirds, like we'll do at Richmond at times. So yeah, certainly spend a lot of time on that. I feel like from my standpoint, that's one of the biggest areas I can contribute on Sundays. It's by calling a good race and executing a good race. As far as our list of improvements, I need to do a better job of that. I needed to do a better job of that at Martinsville in stage 3. But yeah, certainly a big part of our week.
Yeah. It just is fascinating. I love Darlington with all the dynamics of it and everything else. Final question for you, Richard. Getting away from the Cup Series, coming up on Saturday, April 19th, Easter weekend at Dominion Raceway, which is your home track. It's the third annual Dickie Boswell Memorial, the race to honor your father. Just what does it mean to you? We actually, a bunch of us MRN guys went up to it last year and had a really good time. We were in Richmond for that one. What's it mean to you to have that race in honor of your dad?
Yeah, well, first of all, thanks for bringing it up. It's obviously super special for our family to have that. We're super thankful to the Britt family at Dominion Raceway. Obviously you said you were there last weekend and I remember seeing you. For those of you that have not been to Dominion Raceway, you've got to go. It is an amazing facility. The Britt family they've poured their heart and soul into that facility. So I want to see that place succeed as much as any short track in America. But to be going there, that's where we're spending our off week, so my family's going to be there and we're not close or not too far from there. My wife's family is in Southern Maryland. So we're going to go spend some time in Southern Maryland and, head to Dominion Raceway that Saturday for my dad's memorial race. And, it's humbling for our family. It's just kind of the Britt family to do that for my father. He obviously is 100% the reason why I'm doing what I'm doing. People ask me all the time about when was my first race, and I have no idea. I know I was about 2 weeks old, but I don't know where it was. I would assume it was at Old Dominion Speedway or South Boston or Martinsville, somewhere like that. But, yeah, very, very humbling for our family.
Very, very neat. That is for sure. I'll echo with you. Dominion Raceway is state-of-the-art short track. Absolutely incredible facility that they have there. Really good racing as well. Richard, we appreciate the time. Can't wait to see what you have this weekend at Darlington and on throughout, but thanks for joining us here on Crew Call.
You got it. Thank you, guys. We appreciate you.
Richard Boswell joining us from One Welcome. I like that. One Welcome joining us here on Crew Call. Stay with us. More in just a moment.
3, 2, 1, start your engine!
The NASCAR channel is streaming now, exclusively on Tubi.
Tell them we got it!
Go deeper into NASCAR with 24/7 news, documentaries, and explore the vault of timeless NASCAR stories and unforgettable races. From crushing defeats to the thrill of victory.
Go, baby!
The NASCAR channel, always on, always free. Only on Tubi.
Welcome back to Crew Call here on the Motor Racing Network, headed to Darlington and anxious to see what Richard Boswell and everybody up at One Welcome has to offer, that is for sure. Todd, when we look at Darlington, 400 miles around the track too tough to tame.
Lady in Black.
The Lady in Black, a track that has two nicknames and both well earned, certainly is a challenge. As a crew chief, what are you looking for this weekend up there over there at Darlington?
Yeah, move workability through turns 3 and 4.
Mm-hmm.
That's one of the things, because passing wise, the patch over there in 2, it's aging up. It's getting to the point that it doesn't. When we first put that in, we kind of took away one of the passing zones at Darlington because you had to stay all 4 tires in the grip. That's aging. Interested to see where that is now. It's got one more winter on it. The piece I look for is, you look at this place and everybody talks about earning the Darlington stripe, running up against the wall. The place the guy that can roll around the bottom of 3 and 4 and make passes down there, I think is going to be a good spot. And this is a race where you've got to have longevity. You can't go drive 102% on lap 2.
Yeah.
Because at lap 15, you're going to pay the penalty.
Yeah.
So looking for who has discipline and who just takes care of their stuff. A phenomenal racetrack and a unique environment. You can't make the two ends perfect, so you got to find a balance between the two of them.
You can't make it perfect, and it's like a cheese gritter on the tires.
It is. It's tough on the racetrack and on the tires. It just lap times just fall off so immensely. And when guys do short pit, because they will, and split stages, and then you when you look at it, you say I'm going to split it in half. Well, Somebody else is going to take 3 laps off that. Somebody's going to take 5 laps off that. Somebody's going to take 8 laps off of that. But you come out with so much speed relative to the field when you come out that way. But then you're playing defense because they're on better tires than you are when you get on the backside of it. So just so many comers and goers. What a phenomenal event.
It has turned into such a special weekend off the racetrack as well. Throwback weekend, so many cool paint schemes and such, but also alumni weekend as well. I really love what NASCAR's done with this, and I'm anxious to see. We used to car watch. Oh, look at that car. Look at that car. Look at that car. Now we get to car watch and people watch and see who we see down there on alumni weekend. It really is a special time, that's for sure.
It brings back our history. It definitely does. It keeps us in connection with our history. And what with the people and the cars. See, like you said, when we started the paint schemes, it was really cool because it brought back memories, and it still will this year. But then to see those drivers, those guys, the Hall of Famers, come back to the racetrack, it's really cool to see that. Had a moment last weekend when one of the Wood brothers was walking through the garage, and it's just still full of love and joy and excitement about the sport. 75 years into it, it's incredible.
It really is. We're at a neat time, that is for sure. Looking forward to it. And I love the stories. I absolutely love the stories. Some are NASCAR related, some are personal related. I've already got my favorite because it's Christopher Bell throwing back to an Ohio sprint car race with the Ohio Traveler, Rick Ferkel.
You sprint car guys would think that way, wouldn't you?
Exactly, and absolutely love it because it is such, and I actually talked to Christopher about it at Martinsville, and the reverence he has for a guy that was instrumental when Christopher was a 16-year-old kid. I love that reverence, and I love the stories. I love the, we got a Kellogg's car, and we'll have this car, and we'll have that car. We'll have Jamie McMurray has 2 cars, I think, that they're throwback to his. I love the cars that look familiar, but I love the little detailed stories as well, and we'll tell them all this weekend.
And it's not just a cup show.
No, not at all. Nope. No, Xfinity Series and everything is so good. We hit the ground running Saturday afternoon at 12:30 with NASCAR Cup Series practice and qualifying. 3 o'clock on Saturday afternoon, NASCAR Xfinity Series, the Sports Clip Haircuts, VFW Help a Hero 200. Rolls right out the tongue. Yes, exactly. And then Sunday afternoon, it is the Goodyear 400, one of my favorite races of the year because it's Darlington. It's just Darlington, and we'll have calculators out. We'll be counting tires, and we'll be doing all kinds of fun stuff. I love these strategy races. I love races where during the commercials you're down. We're this one's got these number of tires left, and this one's on this set, and this one's doing that. I just think it's fascinating, and it tunes into a good show. It's going to be an awesome weekend.
Yeah, it is. It is. Darlington is unique and brings all the facets forward. Pit crews have to be on. Crew chiefs have to call it. Drivers got to take care of that thing and not end up killing it in the wall. So it tests every facet of your race team, and a great event.
As I said to my buddies last week on the 24 team, it's pit crew season. It's pit stop season in NASCAR. It really, truly is. We are grateful for Richard Boswell joining us here on Crew Call, but more important than all of that, thank you for joining us this time on Crew Call here on the Motor Racing Network.